Okay, let's put the prize sheet back to sleep. And Kate, do you have another speaker for me?
Yeah, we've got Jeffrey Gibby.
Jeffrey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Can
And
you hear
where
me?
are you broadcasting from today?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
This is a global event, so I like to
Yeah.
remind everyone where they're broadcasting from.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Still think I'm in Salt Lake. I started the day in Salt Lake.
That's
So,
usually a good indication.
yeah, yeah.
So Jeff, go ahead and get your PowerPoint up. Jeffrey
Okay.
Gibby's been working for Metastock for over 25 years. He's currently in charge of our sales and business development teams and works to create new Metastock distributors and partners worldwide. Among his responsibilities are the management of new products and services for Metastock and creating strategic partnership. Mr. Gibby works with training companies to help people learn the power of Metastock. He's spoken to traders worldwide and has train groups of large and small on how to use the software and trade various markets. Okay, so Jeff, you have until 5 minutes before the hour. I see you have Metastock 19 up there. So
Yep.
I'm going to go
Okay, you
ahead and
can
mute
see it. That's
myself.
good.
Yep, always a
Okay.
good sign.
All right. Now, before I let you go, if I switch over here to a chart of AMAT, can you see that?
Yeah,
All right, cool. Then I'm ready.
AMAT.O.
Cool.
Looks like a buy to me.
Yeah, it had a nice little gap on it this morning for sure. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and take it from here. Thank you, John. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I am just gonna really quickly open up the chat. So if you have questions, I want to be able to look at them. I want to be able to answer them, and feel free to type them into the question box there. If you have symbols that you want to look at, I don't necessarily need to look at AMET. We can look at anything you guys want to, although we'll probably only look at a couple of symbols today. My goal is just to teach you something. So anyway, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Jeff Gibby. I've worked at Metastock. This year is 2024. I started in 97, which means 26, 27 years is how long I've worked here. Um, I really enjoy working for Metastock, which is probably why I've been here for so long. Um, and It's a great company. When I started, it was in inside sales. I've had a chance to meet so many great people in the trading market, so many great customers, so many great partners like John and Anka and most of the people that are speaking. So it's been good for me. I really enjoy it. I've been here for a while. I love trading. It's something that I do every day. Almost, unless I kind of miss the close. But in any case, before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and read the legal disclaimer, make the lawyers happy. But today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using Metastock, the accompanying software plugins, and it's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. Metastock and its employees have no liability for the investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. Metastock and its employees do not endorse the purchase of a security, nor are they paid for the promotion of a security. No information contained in this presentation should be construed as an investment advice or the solicitation to buy a security. So I hope you enjoyed that. Anyway, I do want to tell you a little bit about Metastock, but kind of we're not going to spend the whole time on what Metastock is. I want to give you a background. This background is going to be a total of two slides, this one and one more. So it's not going to be something that we kind of really focus on um, to a great deal. But I do want you to understand Metastock's been in business. I started, like I said, in 97, I think. We actually started here in Salt Lake in 1982. When I started, it was actually a Reuters company, which eventually became a Thomson Reuters company, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to kind of read through this entire slide because I just want you to know that we've been well established. We bought ourselves back from Reuters about 2013, so it's been a few years, but we still have a really good relationship with them. It's now part of London Stock Exchange Group, still has some of the best data on earth, And as a result of kind of the partnership we have with them, we have data for just about any market on Earth. And we do get a lot of global customers. We have customers a lot of customers in India, in Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Asia in general, Europe in general. Uh, our partnership with Reuters has allowed us to kind of provide some of the best data out there. Now, since we're not going to talk a lot about Metastock today, I do want to point out that it's been rated the best software in its price category. And this year marks the 31st year that it's been rated the best software in its price category. And it does a lot of things. We'll talk a little bit about what it can do, but I'm going to kind of narrow my focus today. Like I said, my goal is to kind of teach you some stuff, and we're going to talk about that. But the main things that Metastock does has the ability to kind of test trading ideas, kind of help you understand what's going on in the market. Scanning, I use scanning on a daily basis to kind of find opportunities in the market. I love the ability for it to go in and kind of identify kind of those stocks that have an actionable opportunity and ignore those ones that don't. It does a really, really good job of that. And it's got a lot of built-in systems. So we'll actually play with one of the built-in systems. There's hundreds of built-in systems today, but we just added one that I really like. And so that's why I'm going to kind of do a lesson on what I'm going to do a lesson today. So and that's Ichimoku. So we just added this as a method that you can install and use. And so what I'm going to do today is, instead of kind of talking about our software and all the stuff that it can do, I'm going to teach you about the Ichimoku Kinko Hui indicator and kind of how it works and how it's calculated and all that kind of stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know as we go. And we will kind of just go into kind of the details. I'm going to cover all of the stuff that's part of the Ichimoku, how it's actually kind of calculated, and kind of how you can use it. It's actually a pretty versatile little indicator. We'll kind of get into that. And as I said, every time I kind of glance in this direction, I'm looking for questions. So if you have any questions at all as we go, let me know, and I'll do my best to at least provide an answer. So let's kind of get going. So this gentleman here on the screen. He went by the name of Ichimoku Sanjin, but his real name was Goichi Hasada. Okay, and he developed the indicator that's known as the Ichimoku Kinko Hui indicator. Ichimoku Sanju basically means what a man in the mountain sees, roughly translated. But his name was Goichi Hasada. I believe the time frame for kind of him starting to work on the systems was right around the 30s, and he worked on it for decades, really. And then he kind of released kind of the methodology to the public in the late 60s. And those times could be wrong. I do have them written down somewhere, but I think those are the rough time frames. So it's been something that's kind of been public domain for a while. A lot of people use it. And my goal today is to kind of teach you about this indicator that you may or may not know. Now, I do have a question for you too. And if you do answer, I'd love to see it. Are you familiar with the Ichimoku Kinko Hui indicator already? If you are, say yes. If you aren't, say no. But I'm really, really curious to see. So Mike is saying yes. PD is saying yes. Tracy is saying yes. All right. Okay, so got a lot of yeses. So this this may be repetitive for you. Bridget says no. TL says yes. Monty says yes. Somebody else says something, but I need to scroll down a little bit. Yes. Gene says no. Okay, we're going to give you a primer. I'm going to go through all of the indicators. We're going to talk about how they're used. And the thing that I like about the Ichimoku and the way it's integrated into Metastock is it really helps you learn. So let's go ahead and kind of just go into the indicator. Here's kind of the Swiss Army things that you can use the Ichimoku Kinko Hui indicator. You can use it as buy and sell indications. You can use it to determine bullishness and bearishness on a stock in a bunch of different ways. You can use it to kind of help you anticipate where future price direction is likely to go, where you're going to run into support and resistance both right now and in the future. It kind of gives you expectations of kind of how stable a trend is and helps you identify potential reversals. And because it kind of has all of these indicators on it, it can kind of help you identify some stop points. So we've got a lot to cover. I'm going to do my best to kind of make it logical and make it make sense to you. And hopefully, this is a bit of a new class for me. So hopefully, I do an okay job at least anyway. All right. So let's kind of dive into kind of the indicators that are in the actual software. The Ichimoku is actually kind of a chart view, and it includes quite a number of different indicators. And so what I've decided is the best way to teach you this is to break it down into what the indicators are and kind of what their uses are. So as part of the Ichimoku method, you've got the Tenkan-sen and the Kinjin-sen. You've got the Senku span A and B. The distance between those two indicators make up the Kumo, which basically means the cloud. If I ever say Kumo cloud, I'm saying cloud. So I try to avoid saying both of them at the same time. You've got the Chiku span and you've got the close. So those are all the indicators that we're kind of going to go through. I'm just going to talk to you about how to read them and how to kind of look at them on a chart. Okay. The first two indicators that we're going to talk about are the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. And it's too bad that Greg's not here because then he could criticize my pronunciation of all of these Japanese words. But he actually says I do a pretty good job most of the time. So anyway, the purple indicator right here, what we're looking at is basically, that's called the Tenkan-sen. And it's the calculation on it is super simple. If I take the highest high over the last 9 bars, and I add it to the lowest low over the last 9 bars, and I divide that number by 2, it's going to give me this purple line. So basically, if I'm looking at it, what I'm getting is kind of a median price for the last 9 days. It's not a moving average. It's basically looking at the exact middle price from the highest high to the lowest low over 9 days. Okay. It's called the Tenkan-sen. The Kijun-sen basically is the same. The Kijun-sen is basically the same calculation. You're looking at this red line. Basically, it's the highest bar for 26 days added to the lowest bar for 26 days, and then you divide it by 2. So those indicators were very, very simple to calculate. Most charting applications are going to have this as something that you can use. And these are the kind of the core first two indicators. So we're going to talk about the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. Now, the way that we use them on a chart, I'm going to kind of go in. Well, actually, I'm not going to jump into Metastock yet because I'm going to go to my next slide. But if the Tenkan-sen is trading above the Kijun-sen, that means that your chart is in a bullish phase, okay? Or that particular part of it is bullish, because there's a couple of different ways you can read bullishness on this, okay? If your Tenkan-sen is below the Kijun-sen, then you're going to be bearish, okay? The crosses indicate a primary buy condition, okay? So one of the ways that you can look at buy conditions is if your Tenkan-sen crosses up or below your Kijun-sen, okay? And now I'm going to just kind of look at the chart. And I've got, yes, Mike Myers, thank you for that. Ichimoku means one look, or is roughly translated to one look at a chart. Or also, I've heard it's also the Ichimoku Kinko Hui is one look at a chart, but I'm not sure on that. I'll have to ask Greg later. All right. So if I kind of come into my chart, I want you to ignore all of the other indicators on here because we're going to cover those. But if I kind of look at just AMAT right here, this purple line, I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so we can kind of focus in on the view a little bit. This purple line here is the Tenkan-sen, okay? Right now, it's trading above the Kijun-sen, which is a bullish indication for this chart, as we had kind of talked about earlier. And when the cross happened right here. You'll notice that it populated a buy signal on the chart, okay? That is basically, that buy signal just means that the Tenkan-sen crossed above the Kijun-sen. Okay, and it's one of the buy signals that you can read out of the Ichimoku Kinko Hui. Okay, and I hope I'm not sure about that Hui part of it, but anyway, let's go ahead and kind of get in there. So those are the first two indicators. Very, very simple to read. If we're up above, AMAT's moving up. If we're down below, then we're in a bearish phase for the Tenkan-sen Kijun-sen correlation. And when it crosses up, it's bullish. When it crosses down, you'll see here we had a cross down between the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen. That gave us a bearish signal on the chart. Okay. Now, we don't want to just take those because it is one chart at a glance. What we want to be able to do is kind of identify kind of some other things that have to do with the other indicators that are on a chart. And a big part of that is the Kumo. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Kumo or the cloud, this area here, and kind of how it's calculated, why it goes into the future, and how you can read it. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let me go back in here. And the top area right here, the blue line, it's not always on top, which is important. But the top right here, this top blue line, where it's on top right here, you'll notice it goes down. That's called the Senku span A. If I wanted to tell you how to calculate the Senku span A, basically you just take the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen, the two indicators we were working with before, add them together, and then plot that into the future by 26 bars. So that's why there's a cloud that goes forward in time. Basically, if we're looking at the exact value of the Senku span A, oops, I didn't mean to go forward. Right now, it would be this value plus this value divided by 2 and plotted forward 26 bars. Okay, and that's why it projects into the future. If we wanted to tell you what the bottom line is, if you wanted to calculate that on your own, you're taking the highest high for 52 bars, you're adding it to the lowest low for 52 bars, and you're plotting that 26 bars ahead. So on top, you've got the Senku span A, you've got the Senku span B. The area between those two areas are the Kumo, or the cloud. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Like I said, this is kind of a little bit of a new session for me, but hopefully that's very, very clear. And if you have questions, again, ask them. I'd be happy to try and answer them. Or I'll give it a Boy Scout effort anyway. All right. The way that we can use the cloud, there are a number of different uses for in terms of kind of the way that you look at the Kumo cloud. And there's so many that I itemized onto slides. We can look at it for trend bias. And basically what that means is if the price is above the Kumo, then it's going to be bullish. So over here, if I kind of look at my chart, you'll see right here, we kind of came up above the Kumo right here. Right here, it's saying above the Kumo. That's another bullish indication. So if we're down below the Kumo, then it's going to be bearish. I had to go back in time a little bit because AMAT's been pretty much above the cloud for quite some time. But that's how you read it. If you're trading, if your price activity is up above the Kumo or up above the cloud, that's a bullish signal that tells you that it's likely in a bullish phase, or that it is in a bullish phase. If it's down below the cloud, then it's in a bearish phase, according to the Ichimoku rule set. Okay. The next thing that we could kind of look at is that Kumo acts as support and resistance. So anytime that we kind of get close to the Kumo, like if we're in an uptrend and it comes down and touches the cloud, we treat that as support and resistance. So right here, we were looking at AMAT, where it comes down here and kind of gets into this cloud area. We're going to treat this until it actually closes below this cloud as a support area. So it can kind of come in here. As long as it kind of doesn't penetrate through the bottom of the cloud, we anticipate that it's going to kind of go back up. Okay. Now it does go down below the cloud. It goes through the cloud. It does pierce the cloud. That happens. Actually, that's another buy signal. But for the most part, when we're trading up above the cloud, when it comes down and tests these levels, that's where we're going to kind of keep an eye on. Is this going to hold as a support area? Okay. If we're trading down below it, is this going to hold as a resistance area? It just depends on where the Kumo is in relationship to the cloud. So no questions yet. Now, I want to talk a little bit about how Kumo acts as support and resistance. I just did. We can also kind of, since we anticipate, since it acts as support and resistance, the direction of the Kumo is important. Like if it's pointing up right now, that's important. We kind of anticipate price is going to continue in that bullish trend. If it points up into the future, we anticipate that it's going to continue into the future. So again, if we're looking at AMAT right now, in the future, you get a little bit of a Kumo twist here. I'll talk a little bit about that. But into the future, the cloud is pointing up. Right now, the cloud is pointing up. AMAT's been in a pretty good bullish trend. But not certainly like NVIDIA, but like it's been in a bullish trend. And so we would continue to assume that this is bullish trend is going to continue. Okay. All right. Hopefully that's clear. All right. The other thing that we kind of look at is a Kumo twist. Okay. With the Kumo twist, that's when Senku span A and Senku span B changes places. That's when the cloud coloring changes. Okay. So if we're looking right here, Senku span when A went above Senku span B, the cloud turned bullish, okay, or green. It turned green, okay. Another bullish indication that the price is likely to continue to rise. Here we had some weakness. Actually, I think it was more back in here where we had the weakness that caused Senku span A to get weaker than Senku span B, and that gave us a little bit of a bearish indication right here. That crossback has happened. And so right now, if we're looking at Senku span A and B, the Kumo twist right here that shows this bullish is an indication that there's likely going to be a resumption of that bullish trend. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So that's the Kumo. There's a lot to keep track of here. In relationship to the Kumo, we're using it for trend bias. We're looking at a price relationship to Kumo. We're looking to see if the price acts as supported, where we're looking at it to identify where support and resistance is, where it's going to be in the future. There's just a lot of stuff to keep track of here. We're looking at the direction to kind of anticipate where price is likely to move. And we're looking at whether or not the cloud itself is bullish or bearish. And so is a lot of stuff here, but it's actually not too complicated. It's a lot of stuff to kind of keep in mind. So we're almost to the end of these indicators. The last two that we're going to talk about is the Chiku span. And the Chiku span is very simple to calculate. You'll notice that it lags price by about 26 days. And really, the Chiku span, what it is today's price, but it's projected backwards in time 26 days. Okay. So if right here, if I go back to our AMAT chat, this right here, this was 26 days ago, but it's always going to be the same as today's close. And that kind of gives us kind of the lagging kind of verification indicator. Okay. Now, if we kind of come in here, there's a couple of things that we use this for, and the Chiku span for. I forgot the name of the indicator I'm talking about. We look at it for the relationship to the cloud. Okay, so we adjust the same way as we want price to be above the cloud. We also want the Tenkan-sen to be above the cloud as well. We also look at the relationship to price. It adds kind of credence to the trend stability that we have. So if I'm kind of looking at the equilibrium here, right now, our close is kind of set at a pretty high. It's not at an all-time high, but it's above. If I look at the Chiku span here, it's above price and it's above the cloud. That actually just leads credence or credibility to whether or not we're bullish or we're bearish at any given time. Looks like I have a question. Let me go down. Oh, Pauline says, great presentation. Thank you. All right, cool. Thank you. You made my day. All right, cool. So that's what we're looking at here. And when we're talking about Ichimoku span, this is the same slide we were looking at earlier. You can use it as a buy and sell indication. You can use it to determine bullishness or bearishness. You can use it to anticipate future price direction. You can look at it to show support and resistance both now and into the future. You look at it for stability of trend, and it can help you identify potential reversals as well. Actually, one of the most popular signals for Ichimoku is when price moves above the cloud. And I forgot to talk about this. So it's kind of good that I have this thing. When the price kind of comes up through the cloud, we had kind of talked about the cloud and it's important right here. If this had penetrated and started to trade underneath the cloud instead of holding it as support, well, in that case, support has failed. And you would use that. That's the second. We talked about how the Tenkan-sen was the primary, a primary buy signal. That's the second primary signal. If this crosses down below the cloud, what we're looking for is when we'd be looking at short positions. That's actually a very, very common signal. And that's the second of the buy signals. So my point is here, though, and it helps you identify stops. It doesn't have any, like Ichi Hasada, he didn't create actual built-in stops. But if you want to kind of identify stops, we can use AMAT as a pretty good example because if we're right here and we're considering going long, or if we're in a long position because we bought it when it closed above the Kumo back here, one of the things that we can look at is we could look at either the Tenkan-sen A or the Tenkan-sen B as stops that we could use. If we wanted to give it a little bit more room, if we're looking at this cloud to be support and resistance, you could use the value of the Senku span A or the Senku span B as stops. Those are things that you could use. Generally, I like to put my stops under support and resistance because it makes sense that when the market is wiggling, that you're going to hit support or resistance, unless you're in a really good trend. It doesn't always, but this is a good stop that is calculated that you can use. You can wait for a close. So there are some stops that are kind of built in that you can use that are logical. And that's based on, okay, where's support? Where's resistance? Where is the market likely? If this fails, where am I supposed to get out? So now the thing, that's really kind of it in a nutshell. Those are all the indicators. What I want to kind of talk about is kind of how to tie it all together. When I started in Metastock like 20 years ago, there's a feature in the Expert Advisor that was called, well, that is called the Expert Advisor. It still exists in the Expert Advisor. But this is a new method that we just kind of incorporated it into 19. But when I was learning about the candlestick, the Expert Advisor, one of the first experts that they showed me is a candlestick expert. And I love the candlestick expert. Probably won't show it here just for time. Actually, I'm not doing too bad on time. But what it does is it identifies different candle patterns on the chart. And you can actually see them, like if there's like a bullish engulfing, and you can open up like a commentary window, and you can kind of see exactly what that bullish engulfing is. There's also, well, there's tons of experts. Like if I just go to the list, there's one that kind of teaches you about MACD. There's one that kind of, there's just, here's the candlestick ones that I'm talking about. A lot of these are just kind of designed to help you understand kind of these different market concepts. So what I wanted to include when we're talking about with Metastock 19, I really like kind of that concept of helping traders understand what's going on the chart. And with Ichimoku, there's a lot, right? We've talked about all those relationships and stuff like that. They're not overly complex, but what I wanted to do was kind of be able to let people use it and understand it. So this was designed by a friend of mine. His name is Robert Debman. And we purchased rights to it and kind of included in Metastock. It's just something that's included. It's one of the 200 tools. But I like to kind of do it, and I like the way that it's kind of put together because it kind of helps you pull everything together, especially if you want to learn about this. And not only does it help you pull it together, it also helps you implement, which I'll talk about in a second. So I've got the Expert Advisor already attached. It's kind of putting this ribbon on the chart. It's doing the symbols and all that kind of stuff. If I wanted kind of a reminder of what's going on in AMAT when it comes to Ichimoku, we have a commentary feature that I'm just going to open up. I'm going to go ahead and do View Expert Commentary. And what's going to happen is it's actually going to give me a whole commentary here. Okay. Now with this, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that we can kind of, so that you can kind of see it too. And I kind of just talk a little bit about it. When I initially apply this commentary, I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's on this very last bar. Values of the indicators, which isn't that important. But what it's actually going to also do is it's going to break down all of those conditions and tell me if they're bearish or if they're bullish and kind of give me an idea of what's going on from an overall picture of this stock. So if I wanted to know if the TK cross was bullish, remember, if the Tenkan-sen is above the Kijun-sen, that's bullish, okay, which is bullish, okay? There's some comments here as well. The neutral TK cross signal occurred 21 bars ago. So it kind of gives you any comments that it feels is relevant. If I wanted to look for the price Kumo relationship, remember if the price is trading above the Kumo, that's also bullish. And so it lists that for me as well. If I wanted to know about the current Kumo direction, you can see that that's pointing into the future it's bullish, which is a bullish indication. It'll tell me that this is bullish, okay? If you want to know about and that's for the current and the future. I think I said future, but it's fine. If we're talking about the Chiku span and its relationship to price, the Chiku span is above price, and that's bullish. So it's kind of breaking this stuff down for you. If you're looking at the Chiku span and its relationship to price, I just talked about that. And then it'll, oh yeah, and the Kumo. So it looks at the Kumo. Both of those are bullish. So it's kind of giving us a dashboard view. If I'm looking at this chart in a glance, this is what it's talking about, right? And then our periods, but since our last Kumo twist is bullish because we had a bullish Kumo twist, which occurred or will occur 9 days from now. Okay, so we had a bearish twist right here, but we have a bullish one that's coming up in about nine bars, 9 days from now, as I'm looking at a daily chart. Okay. Now, the other thing that I really like about this, because I think education's a powerful tool when it comes to the market. The other thing that I like is it breaks down these criteria for you. So if you don't remember from me going through it in 30 minutes, this is going to tell you how to trade it. So like here, what we've got is a complete breakdown of the TK signal. And I'm not going to read that out loud because I only embarrass myself when I do. But you'll see it close above, in, below the Kumo direction, the Chiku span relationship, the Chiku span relative to price. All of the conditions that are bullish or bearish are broken down here. And the thing that's kind of cool is the black part is kind of just static text. It's to give you overview. It's to help you understand what you're looking at, not relative to the chart. So like in this case, it's talking about the Tinkinson, Kinjinson cross and why that's important. Okay. If we go down to the blue part, it's actually telling you what's happening with that relationship on the chart today. So it'll kind of give you an overview of the thing, just so you know what it's looking for. And then it's going to kind of break down what's happening on the chart. And I just love this because I can open this up. If you're new to the Ichimoku indicator and you kind of want to learn it, this is teaching you about it. I can move the commentary window over. I can look at different days. I can say, okay, well, what happened? Or I could drop my mouse. What happened when we got this buy signal? Why is this buy signal happened and how bullish or bearish it was? And if I move the commentary, you'll notice this little arrow on the chart. That's the day it's now analyzing at this buy signal. All of this other stuff is actually kind of being filtered out. So it's just looking at this day. I should say this day and point at the chart in a way you can see it. But it's looking at this day and now it's telling us, okay, well, right now we have a buy signal. And the buy signal is because we had a Tenkan-sen Kijisen cross. That was a strong signal, and all of our conditions are actually bullish, which usually doesn't happen. And I'll show you kind of that relationship, but it's kind of breaking those down. If I wanted to see this particular a few days earlier where we had the cross down, we can click on that arrow on the chart. And you'll notice that it's bearish because we had the Tenkan-sen cross, but everything else is bullish. So that one glance equilibrium kind of would have kept us out of that. So let me show you how I like this because it helps you learn it. That's one of the things that I love about our expert advisor. There's literally hundreds of systems that are in here that are one that's built around candlesticks, MACD, Bollinger Bands, anything that you kind of think of is going to have an expert that kind of has a commentary that helps you break it down. And I've seen a lot of courses over the years that are like $5,000 that just teach you about the cross above the Kumo being an important relationship. And so I love this because it helps you kind of get a full picture of what is going on. But then after you kind of learn it and after you're comfortable with it, what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to identify, based on the market, what is the opportunities that exist for me. So, and that's something that I use every day. I've been here, like I said, for 30 years, and I would be absolutely blind without the ability to automatically scan through the market. So find those stocks with the buy signal. And we call that the Explorer in Metastock. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and show you exactly how that works. Right here, this is what we call our power console. I'm going to go to the scanner or the Explorer. And what I'm going to do, I've got one selected, but I'm going to actually go to the Ichimoku. So I'm just going to type in the little search. I'm going to do a scan for Ichimoku signals in the market. Okay. Now, what market can I scan? Well, I can scan anything that I want because we have a relationship with LSEG, who used to be Reuters and Refinitiv. But because we have a relationship with Reuters, I can implement this anywhere in the market, anywhere in the world. I don't trade Asia, but you might. Australia, India, London, you name it. There's literally, look at this number right here, 327,179 stocks and futures and ETFs and coins that are in this list. Now, since I'm here in the US, I could go in and I could scan all the ETFs. I could scan all the optional stocks. I could scan the entire NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. I could scan whatever I want to. For the purposes of showing this, I'm just going to scan the stocks that are, I'm going to do a couple of lists. Okay. So instead of scanning the whole NASDAQ or the optionables, which you can do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ 100, and the S&P 500. Now, this is a scan I run every day. This is the list I use every day. I like to scan these big these market index stocks. So I can tell you that it's going to be about 520 stocks because there's a lot of overlap between the Dow and the S&P and the NASDAQ. And you can see right here, I was off by one. It's 519 stocks. So we're going to run through 519 stocks. What it's looking for is it's looking for either of those primary buy signals. It's looking for the cross above the cloud, or it's looking for that TK cross. And that's kind of going to be the list of stocks that we get back. Checking time. All right. Again, if you have questions, ask. So what you can do with this is it's designed to kind of go through. This is taking a little bit longer than normal, which is why I'm kind of stalling for time. But like, it's generally pretty quick. It's gone through 90% of them. It does depend on your internet connection vastly. Right now, I'm broadcasting me, my presentation, the screen, all that kind of stuff, which does kind of interfere with the connection. But usually this is pretty quick. It is certainly faster, even with this and all the calculations I'm doing, than actually going through and looking at the stocks. And what I want to do, I love the ability to find opportunities. It's, for me, the most helpful thing because I'm at a stage where I'm pretty mature in my trading. I kind of know a lot of things because I've seen a lot of things, to borrow from some commercial, right? But like what I want to be able to do is I don't have time to look at 520 stocks, let alone the whole market. I want to just find stocks that have either a buy signal. I want to know how bullish they are, and I want to be able to kind of identify that quickly. And I'd say that was pretty quick, even though it took more time than usual. If I look at the list out of those 520 stocks, 464 of them were rejected. 55 of them came back on the filter. Okay. Here, you have a couple of different columns. I'm going to explain what these columns mean. But here you have a signal. Okay, that just means if it's -1, you had a bearish signal. If it's -2, you had a bearish re-entry signal. If it's +1, you had a bullish signal to go long. And if it's +2, then you had a bullish signal to go back in. So it's either going to be -1 or +1 or -2 or +2. Those are the options. So if I wanted to find buys, I'm going to sort based on this signal. And all of my re-entries are going to be at the number 2s. All of the other, the TK crosses are going to be number 1. Now, the reason I like the way that Robert put this together when he put it together for us is that score, those bullish bearish conditions, basically he tallied up into a score here. So you'll see that this has 2 bullish conditions, okay? And it has a TK cross and a cross at the Kumo. This breaks down. It had a negative on the current Kumo, but the future Kumo is, these are all breakdown, but what it tallies it into is a total score. So if I'm looking for a bullish position and I want to go long, I probably actually want to look for a more positive score than a 1 or a 2. I want to have more bullish things than bearish things. And when we talk with Robert about kind of like what he likes, because he's very, very good at Kuchu, he's like, well, I don't wait until we get a perfect score. I like more of the 4s and the 5s. What I'm going to do is actually rank it based on the score. Right now, I can tell you that Google has a 6. Both of them. You've got MCHP that had a 6, Centerpoint that had a 6, Bank of Mellon. And all of these, if I open up the charts, they're going to have an entry signal that are available for me. Okay. If I wanted to focus on those ones that have the 4s or the 5s, right here we've got AVGO. It has a 4. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and open this up just because it has a 4. And then we can kind of see, based on the Ichimoku method, exactly kind of what's bullish and what's bearish and kind of get an idea for the look of the chart. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of do that. Oh, I have a different expert attached. Let me go ahead and apply a template real quick here. I just need to look at the Ichimoku. When I attach this template, it's going to attach the expert advisor. It's going to attach all of the signals, and it's going to give me everything that I need, all of the indicators, everything basically. Okay, so if I kind of zoom in right here, we're getting a buy signal because we closed above the cloud, I believe. But right now you can see that it's bearish. I think I actually scanned for yesterday maybe because it closed above the cloud yesterday. And that might be in my settings. I like to actually scan for yesterday to see if something is confirming. And I think that's exactly what I did yesterday when we were kind of doing a little bit of a scan session. Now I'm using the current time and date. Okay. All right. Well, I'll drill into that a little bit. But if I'm now looking at applied AVGA broadcam, right now, what I'm getting is a complete bullish. So this is bullish, 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 bullish. It's breaking those things. Oh, I'm looking at a different stock. This is AVGO. Must have had two highlighted. This is AMAT. And right here, we can kind of see kind of what the commentary is. So this allows me to, with the purpose of scanning, to go in, find those stocks that are kind of approaching an opportunity or that have an opportunity, see what those are, focus on those. And I just love scanning in MetaStock. It's something that like I'll usually sometimes I get busy at work. Like yesterday, I missed the market close because I had a meeting that that I try and avoid in meetings right before the market closes. But I usually run scans twice a day, every day, because it allows me to just okay. One of the things a good friend of mine and a great market mentor, Price Headley, always said, "Hey, as a trader, what I want to be able to do is ignore all the stocks that have just a mediocre opportunity. And what I want to do is I want to focus on those stocks that have the best opportunity." And he'd go into a lot of detail on that. I consider him a mentor. He always talked about like, okay, in life, one of the lessons that he was taught early on is like in your professional career, there's a couple of times where you really just want to kind of swing at the ball, and really kind of put your whole effort into it. And what he wants to do is, and the work that he's done over the years, is to identify those opportunities. He talks a lot about skipping and ignoring the opportunities that are okay or maybe going to produce a profit, and finding the NVIDIAs early, or finding those stocks that are likely to have explosive. So great. He has some great books. I think it's called Big Trends in Stocks and Options. But one of the things that has is one of those things that I try and keep in mind when in both my professional life and in my personal life as well. When you swing at it, but make sure you identify it as a great opportunity. It's a life lesson that I attribute to him. Anyway, so as part of the meta stock, we've got the expert that ties everything together, the ability to go in and scan and find those opportunities, identify them on the chart, find out what has signals on the chart, all that kind of stuff. I want to stress this just because I have a few extra, like I came in a little bit earlier. So I'm going to show you a bonus thing. I'm going to show you that candlestick expert too, because I don't want you to leave the impression with Ichimoku's the only thing in Metastock. There's a couple hundred systems. And so I'm going to show you real quick as we kind of, before I wrap it up, that initial expert advisor for candlesticks I was talking about is one of the ones that initially helped me kind of fall in love with kind of Metastock and the educational qualities that might be with it. So we're looking at AMAT here. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up just a little bit, take off the indicators. What I'm going to do is, because we're going to deal with candlesticks, I'm just going to change it into a candlestick chart. So I'll double click here, and I'm just going to change this to candlesticks. And I'm going to actually restore the defaults and then change it to candlesticks. Okay. This expert advisor is kind of one of indicative of the reason that I like the candlesticks. And I feel like they're helpful for people, especially if you're at that phase where you're new. So it's just called candlesticks. I'm going to attach it here. And what this does, you'll notice, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. It puts a lot of annotations on the chart. But today, we had a rising window. Here we had a bullish Harami. Here we had another rising window. Here we had an engulfing bullish, a falling window, a rising window, etc. If I want to kind of, if I want to learn about candlestick patterns, it's going to tell me, it's going to identify them right here on the chart for me. And if I open up this commentary and kind of take a look at it, basically it's going to kind of give me a breakdown of how many black candles I have versus how many white candles. That's also bullish or bearish, depending on kind of the correlation from it. But it's going to tell us a rising window occurred where the top of the previous shadow is below the bottom of the current shadow. This usually implies a continuation of a bullish trend. So this was in Metastock when I started. And as somebody that was kind of new to trading in general, I love the idea of being able to just kind of go in and see how it's happening on a chart and have that interplay and have it help me learn. Because the biggest thing about trading, I'm checking my time again, because I do need to wrap it up, I think at 55. But the biggest thing about trading is discipline. You talk to people that there's a quote that I have in my other one that was put together that said, which Richard Dennis, let's see if I can recite it by memory. The key to trading is discipline. You could give all of the people the signals that we used in our trading, but the problem is they would lack the discipline. I mangled the quote, but it doesn't matter. You get the idea. One of the important key aspects of trading is discipline. So with the tool set that we have in Metastock, here's an expert advisor that kind of helps you understand methods. We've got a scanner that can kind of help you go in and find opportunities on the current day. We also have a tester because all of the methodologies that we're drawing here are objective. So if I want to understand how something works on a chart, I can go in and do a system test and it will kind of draw that out for me. So there you go. Let me go ahead and kind of go back into there. This was an add-on that we sold for a number of years. There's tons of videos on our YouTube channel that you can kind of go through where we talk about Ichimoku in detail and in depth. But what I liked this one so much that I actually kind of, I made a deal with Robert Dedman, the creator of it, and we include it in every version of Metastock from every install. So just to remind you with Metastock, one of the things that I talk to about people, I wouldn't trade without it. And I think that's kind of a cliche when you talk to a presenter, but I do use it. And I do feel like I'm a better trader because I do scanning and kind of identify that thing. 31 years in a row, it's been rated #1. And this is an award that we get from Stocks and Commodities, but it's the Reader's Choice Award. So if you have, I actually really like Stocks and Commodities. If you want to get a subscription to them, they did pay me to say this. You can go to www.traders.com and get a subscription. But for 31 years in a row, the readers of Stocks and Commodities has rated Metastock as the #1 software program in its price category. And one of the things that I've always really liked about Metastock is I've seen a lot of programs over the time. There was a program that was like $4,000 that did buy and sell signals based on moving averages, and it's just like it blew up. But one of the things I like about Metastock is there's a lot of depth to the program. It's something that we've literally worked on for 31 years. We just had an awesome upgrade that's been super well received for 19, which included this Ichimoku, as a matter of fact. But the one thing that I've always felt about Metastock is I don't care where you're at on your trading journey, as you get better at trading, if your role is technical analysis, this is something you should look at. Because as you get better in your trading journey, not only are there hundreds of scans that you can put in there, there's hundreds of systems for very much like the Ichimoku that we just talked about. But there's so much depth to it. It's definitely something that's going to grow with you as a trader and not something that you're going to grow out of and leave behind. So, and I think that's why we win year after year. I think it's why when you look at kind of the customers, we have customers that we're grateful for. We've literally had customers that have been with us for decades. And I want you to be one of them. Well, also just the longevity here of employees. It's a great company to work for. It's a great company to work with. Our goal in our support team is if you contact them and you fill out the survey, you give them 100%, and they get 100% for weeks and weeks and weeks. I didn't do one this week because of one survey, but their goal is to actually get that 100%, and they do a great job. We actually pride ourselves in the fact that we have more people in support than we have in sales and marketing. And they're right there. I point this way because they're right there. If you have questions, you can talk to them. They're good. So anyway, we have two versions of Metastock. We have a real-time version. We have an end-of-day version. So we call Metastock Real-Time RT. And one of the things that we include with our Metastock Real-Time is, I told you that we had the relationship with Thomson Reuters, and it's a great relationship. It's now the London Stock Exchange Group. One of the platforms that they have is a news platform. And I'm not going to go into a lot of details just for time. We've spent hours on it. We're doing a presentation later today that's going to be a full hour on just this product. But when they developed out what we call our Zenith platform, they spent over $1 billion on it. They developed it as a competitor to Bloomberg, which is like $1,800 a month. It has the Reuters news infrastructure behind it. So anything that comes out related to the market, they have 3,000 reporters in 300 different news bureaus that feed applications into this product, which didn't even talk about. They've got 30,000 company reports. It is one of the best, and arguably the best, news and information and data provider on the planet, and that's just included. $265 per month. It includes all the testing and all that other Metastock side of the stuff as well. That'll include Metastock Zenith real time. It'll include Metastock. It'll include data. It'll include news, everything. Okay. We also have our real-time version, our end-of-day version, $69 per month. And that's it. That includes Metastock. It includes the data. It includes everything that you need to analyze it. And the special, we do also, I forgot about this slide. We do offer a free white glove installation setup. So they'll sit down with you. They'll say, hey, what do you want to do? And they'll kind of show you around the program, and they'll spend up to 2 hours with you. And in some cases, if they don't get through everything you want to do, they'll set up another session. You have free unlimited access to our support. You have unlimited access to all of the recording training that we've put on Metastock. We want to keep you as a customer, obviously, right? We want it to be valuable for you, because if you subscribe to this, you're just out your subscription cost. But what we want is we want you to be one of those customers that have been with us for a long time. What we're going to offer as a trial today is, if you buy a month, you can do this with DC or you can do this with real time. If you buy a month, we'll give you the second and the third month for free. Okay. So if you do the DC version today, here in Utah, at least, it might be different if you're in Asia, but here in Utah, it's like 6.5. So if you sign up now, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, $69 will get you to basically September 5th. It'll cost you about $23 each month for that. And that's all you have to pay. Okay. You'll actually get Metastock 19. You can see it's so new. I haven't updated this slide to say 19. You'll get the data region of choice. You get that white glove installation support. If you ever have any questions, if you ever have any problems, you'll get the online training. So there's a couple of things that you can do if you go to metastock.com/madhedge3for1, which I believe is on my clipboard. Let's see. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let me send that to you. I believe that you can sign up right there. If you have any questions, if you want to get more information, we'd love to hear from you. You can call us toll-free, 800-882-3040. That'll work in the US and Canada. If you want to chat online with us and have us email you some more details about some of the other stuff that we've been doing for 31 years, metastock.com/sales-chat. Make sure that you mention this webinar, though, the Mad Hedge webinar, and that way you can make sure to get the proper coupon for the 3 months. So there you go. Okay, I don't see any questions that are left. I hope it's okay that I'm stopping 2 minutes early. Yeah.
Jeff, you left everybody speechless.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate Pauline's comment. When somebody comes in and says you do a good job, I don't know. It really hits for me. Thank you, Pauline.
You know, we worked so hard at helping our subscribers make money. It's nice to occasionally get acknowledgement.
For sure.
Of course, a case of wine also helps, would also be good.
I'm pretty cheap. A good compliment here or there is all I need.
Yeah, really.
John, thank you for having me.